Welcome to r/Malicious Compliance, where we share stories of people conforming to the letter but not the spirit of a request. And today we have 3 great stories, so subscribe, hit the like button, and let's begin. The first story: client wanted his money back and threatened to sue me. I never saw him again. The second story: lazy apartment repairman asks me to wait until the next day to report a broken ceiling. Lost his job as a result of malicious compliance. The third story: neighbor drove me out of his private property, so I refused to help him. Today's first story is: bill your insurance without checking on your benefits first, if you say so. I was working as an optician at a local optical chain. For those who don't know, all an optician does is sell glasses. I was in my early 20s and was working part-time while still in college full-time. Part of my duties as an optician was to answer phone calls, schedule appointments, get any insurance information that patients may have, and then check on the insurance to verify the patient's eligibility. As employees, we didn't like taking walk-ins on Saturdays because most insurance companies are closed on Saturdays, and we can't call ahead to verify the patient's eligibility or benefits, and this always caused problems. On Friday, we would call and make sure all the Saturday scheduled patients were good to go with their insurance, so you can see how a walk-in would be problematic. But we did our best to explain that if a patient walks in on a Saturday and wants us to bill their insurance, they do so at their own risk. Anyway, one Saturday, a seemingly even-tempered older man, probably in his early 60s, came in, wanting an appointment. Mind you, he wasn't pitifully old. He could walk, talk, drive, and think just fine. He was just at that stage where you're just starting to be a truly old man, where you're kinda grumpy at everything. If I recall correctly, we had some availability that day, so I went through the whole routine of having him fill out paperwork and asking if he was planning on billing insurance. He wasn't happy about the paperwork. Most old people aren't, and said that he would be billing Medicare, that they also gave him like a $200 allowance towards glasses. I had been working there a while, and I knew that some plans of Medicare only cover eye exams, if there's a medical reason for it, and not for visual acuity problems. What was most concerning was he had a different Medicare card that we had never seen before, so we had no idea what his benefits were. But this man insisted and assured me they would cover the cost of the eye exam. I shrugged and told him that we normally would call the insurance company beforehand to verify his coverage, but because it's a Saturday, they're closed, so we can bill Medicare at his own risk. He once again assured me that Medicare would cover the eye exam and that he would go ahead with the appointment. As I'm sure you've guessed by now, we went ahead with his eye exam. Luckily, I had the foresight, pun intended, to write this whole conversation down into his patient file notes on our computer system. I explained how he has Medicare and that they normally don't cover normal eye exams, and that he wanted us to bill them anyway. After his appointment, the man was pleased with the doctor and left with his prescription. Fast forward a few months. A lot had happened since then. Crazy drama in the office led me to assuming the role of manager at the office. More responsibility for roughly the same pay, and I had to take a semester off of school to work full-time as a manager. One day, the same man from months before came in quite red in the face and went from even-tempered old man to angry old man. AM equals angry man. Me equals me. Me: hey there, what can I do for you? AM: I'll tell you what you can do. You can refund this eye exam for me. Me: I look at the bill he threw on my desk. Okay, can I get your name, sir? AM: my name's on the bill. Now get rid of these charges. Me: sir, I can't do that. That exam was months ago. You could have used the prescription hundreds of times since then. But what happened? Are your glasses not working for you? AM: they're fine, but you didn't send the bill to my insurance. This bill is way too expensive, around $150, which is a lot for an eye exam, and my insurance covers it. Me: let me take a look at it. At this point, I started to recognize him, and so I get the feeling I should check his patient notes. Sir, this charge here is what we billed to Medicare, and they sent the bill back because they wouldn't cover it. I remember you coming in, and I put our previous conversation in the notes, saying Medicare wouldn't cover it. AM: well, how was I supposed to know? I want this refunded. Me: sir, we can't refund the whole amount, but maybe what I can do is talk to corporate and try to collect, only for the cash price exam without insurance. Explanation: his bill was around $150, because for whatever reason, we charge more when we bill to insurance companies, and regular eye exams to patients without insurance, we normally charge only $50 to $60. Since he insisted we charge to his insurance, it bounced back as the insurance price, which is obviously unfair to him. AM: no, I want this whole thing refunded, and I'll report you to the government for stealing from them and charging more to them. I'm sure Medicare doesn't even pay the whole amount we charge. We just send the bill for that much, and the rest is probably dismissed or something. Me: I can't do that, but I will put in your notes that we'll try to get you the cash price exam cost for your bill. AM, let me see those notes of yours. I'm gonna need all the evidence I can get when I take you and this company to court. Me, knowing you won't do squat. Okay, here it is. I printed out the notes from now and before and handed them to him. AM, and why don't you sign here at the bottom so the court knows you gave this to me, and so you're held responsible. At this point, I think he was just trying to intimidate me with lawsuits and liability, but I already knew that I covered my butt by putting all those details in the notes. Plus, I was a student/employee at a local optical chain. I highly doubted this issue would get anywhere over a $150 bill. So I happily put my dumb signature at the bottom of my extensive notes. Me, so sir, I'll call corporate and see if they can change that bill to a cash price exam, okay? AM, and I'll see you in court. Me, okay, see ya. Never heard back from him after that. It's been about 4 years since and no sign of any lawsuit. I think I remember talking to corporate, and they were happy to change his bill, and indeed changed it, so he probably just ended up paying the cash price exam, which if he would have done in the first place would have saved him a lot of time, money, and energy. The second story is, can you call about your busted ceiling tomorrow? Okay, will do. Little bit of background. A few years ago, my brother and I rented an apartment from a complex I'll call Sunshine Apartments. It was on the ground floor with 2 floors above us, and all the layouts are exactly the same, no matter what floor you lived on. This will be important later. One Sunday morning, I noticed that the ceiling in my bathroom was starting to form holes, and there was an ugly water stain that took up half the ceiling. I should have immediately called it in, but decided to wait until Tuesday, my day off, to call it in. My reasoning at the time made sense. I wanted to be there to ensure my cat didn't escape. This was my fault, and I fully admit it. Come that evening, I got off of work and settled into my favorite chair with my laptop and talking to my friends on Discord. My brother was closing the grocery store where he worked, so I had a nice quiet place to myself, or so I thought. An hour later, I heard a loud wham and the sound of running water. OSH, I said, and I ran into my bathroom and was greeted with the sight of a large hole in my ceiling at least 2 feet wide right above my shower. Plaster was everywhere and water was pouring down. If I had been taking a shower, I would have gotten hit by falling debris. I immediately called the 24-hour emergency maintenance number. The repairman who answered, who I will call George, had done some repair work for our apartment in the past, and while he did take a while to get to repairs, he overall did a good job, so I thought he was trustworthy. The conversation goes as follows. George, Sunshine Apartment Emergency Maintenance, this is George, how may I help you? Me, deciding to be extra polite to offset the fact that it was late. Hello, George, this is HCA 2001 in apartment 5678 in building 9. I know it's late, but there's a giant hole in my bathroom ceiling caused by a water leak. Can you please come over and fix it? George, actually, I just got home. Can you call again in the morning? Cue simmering rage. Part of me wanted to tell him to get his butt over there and fix the D-hole in my ceiling. However, a new thought came over me, and I decided to teach him a little lesson. Me, of course, you have a good night. The next morning, I called into work to get the day off, before calling the maintenance number again. This time, a different gentleman, who I'll call Hector, answered. Hector and I knew each other from my long walks around the complex. He'd always ask how my cat was, and to say hi to her from him, which is always a plus in my book. I politely asked Hector to please come fix the ceiling, but added a small tone of irritation in my voice, which was genuine. He agreed and was over in about 10 minutes. When he came in, I brought him into the bathroom and showed him. Hector, eyes widening. Holy SH, looked at me. Did you call this in when it happened? Me, I did, but George asked me to wait until today to call. Hector, why did he ask you to wait? Me, he said he had just gotten home. Hector, I see. Let me check your upstairs neighbor's shower and then we'll get this taken care of. Me, thank you so much, Hector. It took Hector a total of 4 hours to diagnose the cause of the leak. A split ring, if I recall correctly. Find the correct part needed, repair it, and put a cardboard cover over the hole so it had a chance to dry out. Mold being a huge problem in hot and humid Florida. He also called for the carpet cleaner to come with fans, to dry the carpets and laminate floors, and for people to clean up the debris. Of course, I was very grateful, and thanked everyone profusely. In hindsight, I should have brought over food and water for them, but that'll be for next time. I never did see George again. A few weeks later, I happened to run into Hector while on my walk, and casually brought up the fact I hadn't seen George in a while. Hector, oh yeah, he was fired. Me, genuinely surprised. Really, may I ask why? Hector, he had been constantly late and leaving early. He was supposed to be on the clock when you called about that busted ceiling. The manager had been looking for a reason to fire him for a while now. For the record, I was never trying to get George fired, and I do feel a little guilty about that. having endured a 2-year stint of unemployment. But then I remember he brought this upon himself. It was a 24-hour emergency maintenance number, and I was left unable to use my bathroom. The last story is, "This is private property, sir." A few pieces of scenario you need to keep in mind. I'm a student and I rent a shared old house with other students. The house has no garden, but there's a long paved space around, all walled. None of us can leave it since there was a second lockdown, so we have to stay in this place for daily activities. Second thing to know is that I recently picked up daily exercise since I recovered from Big C. I'm not infected anymore, and I'm lucky that there is a space good enough beside our house with a nice curb I can use to some things I couldn't otherwise. Third thing is that this part of the paved space, even though close to the hour, is the opposite way from the street door, which means that most people only go there either to park their cars, there are always some on the opposite side, or because they live the garage next door, who shares the space. The garage isn't used for cars, and I guess it's reconditioned as a tiny flat instead. All houses around me are owned by the same landlady, who lives somewhere close. Incident: I was doing squats there and minding my business, when this older neighbor, who I don't know because I moved in September, parks in front of the space. He starts moving towards me, so I greet him, which he doesn't reciprocate. Instead, he just states with the most proponent expression, "You know this is private property?" I still don't know if he's another tenant or the husband of the landlady, so I supposed he might be right, that I had no legalistic right to stand in this space nobody used to exercise. So I just answered that I was sorry, and I didn't know before picking up my phone and leaving. By this point, he already left towards the garage. This was unusual, because this is a friendly little town, and I didn't think the person that used that space could care, or even less prevent young people from exercising, just because he didn't like to see it while getting out of the car. I'm very surprised nobody inside the garage could know I was there, and much less be bothered. I was raised into helping out people, especially neighbors, who you never know when you might need to help you, and me, this is frankly a D move in normal times, and even worse during a lockdown. Maybe it also struck me as especially sucky-ish, because I'm an anarchist, and I absolutely cannot fathom why someone would do something, as go out of his way just to be a D, and deprive people from using an empty space, just because it's yours. Either because he also rents it, or he's married to the lady who owns a tenth of the houses. She just uses to get 80% of people's paycheck, just for having inherited a paper. But rant finished. This is not some time to make revolutions. He had his chance to be a nice neighbor, and well, he blew it. Next week I see him again, and he's changing a tire that he obviously blew by clashing with the curb. I start exercising in the only available spot besides my door. Worst spot, but never mind. I see him struggle for a good 25 minutes with no avail, before asking me if I could lend a hand. Now, I know how to do it and could absolutely help him. Even if I'm probably not physically stronger, he's in his 40s. I would absolutely help any other neighbor or passerby, but for this guy I preferred to stand before his section of the pavement and tell him that I'm sorry, I cannot get there as that's private property. Guy then just packed up his SH and went inside to call a crane. And I finished my exercise. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications.